that. So you can do that. Now, this time I'm going to do all rows from the table and do test load 20 records. This is inserting 9 records into the table. Now if I refresh it here, I'll get all the 9 records into the attendee table, right? Now this is the staging table only. That's why you are seeing this uh, set information, and the records are also there. So now you have to find out the target table. So you have to create this transform map. You can create a new transform map, and then you can find out the target table where you want to insert the attendee table record. So maybe you can create an attendee table and then use this data source as, you know, your source table, and then push that into the attending table after creating the mapping assist. Make sense? Just for the record, I'll repeat the steps that we did for specific SQL so that we have that recorded into this video. So for that, what I do is I go into the data sources, and instead of bringing all records from the data source, I just want to get qualified records from the data source. For example, in this attendee table, I have 9 records, but I don't want all of these 9 records to go into my staging table area. So I just wrote one query, simple query. And that query is to get all the records where name equals Samir. Now I'll go here, and within the data source property, I'll put specific SQL. So the moment I select a specific SQL, the table input box went away. It doesn't need any table input box now. And now I'm going to put my SQL statement here. Do not forget to remove this semicolon because that will throw an error. So I put my SQL query here, and then I'm going to save it. I saved it.
Rahul,
Yeah.
I have one more machine. So if let's say if I install a Linux on it, and can I make that then as a server, and then I can install MySQL on it? So that I can use as a server, correct? And I can
You have a machine,
check.
you want to install Linux on it, and you want to
Yeah.
install MySQL on it. This is
Yes.
up to this it is fine. Do you have a public IP
Mhm.
address?
Arey yaar, no.
Then it will be difficult. You need to have a public IP address. Otherwise, yeah, you need to have a public IP address.
Hmm. But why can't we make our local system as a server?
The server is not a problem. How would ServiceNow identify your server?
That should be in the public domain, right?
Right,
That's what you're saying.
right. You don't need a server to do all these things. You can use your PC, your laptop to do this thing. But your laptop or PC should have a public uh, IP. It should be in public
Okay.
domain.
Mhm. But I guess, wherever we work for service now, I guess, all these things are, I hope,
Yes,
whatever
yes.
connection they already made it, right?
Yeah,
So we don't have to,
yep,
but I think we should good to know.
yeah. Your database administrators will give you all this information, and then you can create your data sources, and uh, you can, pull data from the data source. Now you have your specific SQL here. You can test load to see the number of records it fetches, and it will fetch one record, right? One record is here. Now let's go back and see the other checkbox that we had. It is use last run date time. Let's see what it says. It says use the last run date time value to filter data. Right? Target database field that will use the timestamp for filtering data. Do I have a data field here? Okay, date of joining is all 0000 for me. I did not insert it correctly. So let's say I insert one record here. Insert into attendee values. So I have two Samirs now. Let me do this. Now if I execute this one, it will fetch two records from the table because two qualifying records are there. It did. Now if I go back and check this out and then specify the last run database field as date of joining, let's try to save it. And let's see, can I do now +2? Will it do something? I'm hoping it will do something. Okay, it says one warning to the same date. Now if I save this, it will try to find out differential record, date of joining. Now it did all the three records. There are two things to it. We don't have a date time stamp here. Let me use. Don't have it. I'll have to change my table slightly to include a field that contains the transaction date and time, etc., so that I can use the last run date time into this field here and when I run this script, it will get only the differential data after that time. So only the records that will be created after that last date runtime, those will be pulled out. So I'll have to do certain changes into the table, adding one more column, or probably use another table that contains that information. So I'll send you an email after doing that. Okay, I'll send you an email after doing that, Anand.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Any question as of now?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just, I have to, so we are actually playing around update sets, import set, transfer map, and data sources configuration, right? So, um, I think I'm okay. I mean, I don't have an issue.
Okay.
Rahul, yeah. One more thing, in this database data sources, there will be anything called database views. I casually, uh, 2 days onwards, I'm working on that service now related
Mm.
database views. So could you tell me on that what mainly the user what is the purpose mainly they are using it? I went through the docs, but something like they are using some ACL related things
Mm-hmm.
for that database views.
I'll I'll I'll
So
I'll talk about views probably tomorrow. So
okay, okay, yeah, okay,
okay, we'll talk about views.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So were you able to look into the exercise that I gave you to do?
Okay,
If you're
Uh,
asking me, I started doing that. First, I resolved that issue, which is yesterday's issue, to skip that record, and but that user, what you call that, a battle tutor, right? That user, that role does not, that role assignment does not get created automatically after the data set update. I mean, that user does not have a assignment of that role.
right,
So
right.
when
Yeah, you
so
will
I
have
have,
to do that.
yeah. So there I am right now. And
okay. I mean, you changed to elevated privileges to that user, not it?
No,
not actually.
Okay.
What happened is, um, when he has created that role has, and why this is not imported. I mean, I think you might have told
data
this
will
to
not
me.
be imported.
Okay, okay. So that was the data. Okay.
I tried, I think without the elevated privileges, I tried it is working fine, Rahul, yesterday. After ignoring that error,
Mhm. So Anand, we'll need to I think this is going to be a good use case for us. So we'll need to refine our
okay,
requirement. So
okay,
if you can add more requirement to the requirement sheet, we can at least have one application completed completely, and we'll make sure that all of the components that we are studying are utilized in this resource management application, so that at later point of time, if you want to revisit what you have done, you can look
Mhm.
into the update set related to the resource management and go through each of the components that we have built. So let's try to refine our requirement. Let's add more requirements to the resource management application, and then we'll use it. right? We still need to do workflows. So
Yeah.
and so let's do a small workflow today, which will
Okay.
let's kick this discussion. So I just want to spend 10-15 minutes today, and then we'll break early and we'll talk tomorrow. Uh, see,
For workflow, I can give you a couple of use cases.
okay, so you send me use cases in an email, and we'll try to
Hmm.
work on those use cases, and then
Hmm.
we'll discuss that during the class.
Okay.
Okay.
But on every use case I have is always tied to the LDAP. So can we simulate not LDAP, but at least we assume that okay, we connected to the LDAP and then we are, like a user authentication, we have to do it through LDAP.
Okay, let's try to do that as well. I'll
Okay.
If I get time today, I'll set the LDAP server on Windows machine, and we'll use that.
Okay.
Okay. So can you define workflow? Uh, what what a workflow is? Both of you.
Workflow is a sequence of process which needs to be happen in a particular order, um, or a sequence of a task which needs to be happen in a particular order, and yeah, that's the definition.
Kumaran, what's your opinion?
Basically, it's workflow means we need to do one step-by-step things like I mean, I had a previous experience. One of the product I used in a guidewire. It is a guidewire product. There they have used workflow. Basically, there will be like a renewal. So when I try to do on the transaction renewal flow transaction in the insurance domain, they have certain limits. So first of all, when it comes to the this is one kind of a use case. When the insurance going to be renewed, before it expires, the particular policy, previous policy expired before 60 days, it ensures that first step. So there will be like a sequence of steps. Then it enters into the renewal workflow. Then there will be two cases. Either it goes to automatic renewal workflow or manual renewal workflow. In that automatic renewal workflow, it will in the workflow behind there will be batches always running. So it will validate everything. The particular a particular insurer get approved that from the insurance carrier, and then in that carrier there will be underwriter
I
one
get
more
it. That's
Uh,
I get it.
that
like
was a
What
that it
specific
goes.
you're talking about
Yeah,
actually.
that you are
yeah, yeah, yeah,
talking about a specific example. So to
yeah, yeah.
generalize and understand what a workflow could be is, see, um, I'll say
Mm,
that a workflow is utilized to, you know, extend the decision-making process. Uh,
okay,
if within the organization, you want that the decisions that are made at a particular step gets reviewed by other persons. So that point of time, emergence of workflow becomes important. So workflow in a way will be an extended approval process within an organization related to any process, right? Um,
I think Rahul, I just wanted to correct here to you. This is the approval is one way of
yeah,
what you call when we talk about in ITSM, ITSM service catalog or ITSM domain. Then we only talk about approval.
right.
Actually, workflow. workflow is
multi-step
more, I mean,
process.
it's
Hmm.
yeah, it's a multi-step. It's a couple of tasks which needs to be happen in a, in a particular manner. So
Yeah,
it's not always to be
exactly,
approval. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, like the way he said, the insurance, auto insurance policy.
Hmm.
So if I develop an application where I capture your geographical data, then I capture your all other data, driving data, and then I calculate your premium, and then I give a quote to you. Okay, this is my application.
Yep.
If I wanted to convert that into a workflow,
Hmm.
then I will call each specific module in
Hmm.
each workflow action item,
Hmm.
and then I'll move forward. Okay,
Yeah.
so it is not always a approval. So that's what I just wanted to make it broad, basically.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a multi-step process, uh, and based upon the participants who are there in the in the workflow, and there could be different activities. So what you are talking about is different activities that workflow may contain. Um,
Yeah.
but again, the so let's redefine it. So it's workflow is a multi-step process that you might have within your organization, and that
Mm.
extends your approval process as well. That gives you multi-level approval as well. Would it be fine enough
No,
now?
the process. No, no. The process could be a approval. One of the process is one of the there could be n number of process, and approval is one of the process in that process.
All right. So approval is one of the processes as part of the workflow that we'll be using.
Right.
Okay. Let's see how ServiceNow defines workflow. Not exactly the workflow definition, but let's say the workflow engine automates multi-step processor and is used throughout the ServiceNow system. Each workflow has a sequence of activities such as generating records, notifying users of pending approvals, or running scripts. The transitions between these activities are based on configurable conditions. At each step in workflow, an activity is processed by and an action defined by that activity occurs. At the completion of an action by an activity, the workflow checks the activity conditions. For each matching condition, the workflow follows the transition to the next activity. Right? So again, this engine will automate the multi-step processes that you have within the organization that can contain approval as well. Okay.
Yes.
Now we'll do a very simple workflow today. Let's assume that we are into the marketing.
Tomorrow I will define, for that resource management, I'll define the workflow, and then I mean each steps in that particular work application,
Okay.
like a use cases.
So I'm going to use this. So to create a workflow, you will be using Workflow Editor. Workflow Editor is the tool that you will be using to create a workflow. Now the workflows are also associated to a particular application, hence it will be associated to a particular table as well. Right. Let me see if I have any equipment. I don't have. So the use case that I want to use here is, let's say if the equipment request that we use for this marketing event application, the cost of the equipment is, if it is more than $500, then we will be getting an approval for that equipment request, right? If the cost is less than 500, then you do not need an approval. Okay, so that's the workflow that we want to create for this equipment request, right? If I open a particular request here, let's put a approval field as well. I'm going to do too much of background noise.
I will close the door. Check.
I just brought this approval field here on the screen.
You know what, Kumar, you just mute yourself. So I think
Yeah, yeah. Actually, suddenly my the door is opened. That's why I just went to and close it.
no, that is fine. Actually, you just mute yourself. Then you'll have no
Okay.
problem.
Now I have this approval field here, which for all of these records I have not yet requested. I want to do one thing. I want to go and create one workflow on the equipment request table, this equipment request table, and I want to kick that workflow whenever the cost of the equipment is more than $500. So I'll name it. Okay. Now here's the definition. A workflow automates and visualizes multi-step process as a sequence of activities. Now the unique name that we gave to our workflow is equipment request, and the table that we are going to choose is equipment. I'm going to choose the equipment request table here. Let's put a description here. So is the condition. If condition matches, you have to run the workflow, and the condition is cost is greater than 500 USD, right? So based upon this condition, you submit the workflow here. So it will give you a blank slate, and on that blank slate you can go ahead and add your workflow activities. This is the beginning one. So each workflow activities, if you double click on it, you will get to see the properties of the workflow activities that you are using there, right? And then you can set your properties there as well. Now this workflow will only get kicked when the cost of the cost of the equipment is more than $500. So when it is more than $500, I'll ask for a group approval or something. So I'll ask for a group approval. I'm going to put a group approval activity in there. So there are different activities available here. Let's talk about these activities for a second. Approval activity is where you can get approval from a single user, a group of user. Approval coordinator is there. If you have to do conditional checks, you can use if, switch, wait for condition, etc. If you want to send email notifications, you can create notification and send that notification from here. If you want to create subflows, you can put parallel flow launcher that will launch a subflow into it. You can put a timer. For example, if you are doing a network hit somewhere and pushing data into a third-party application, and the network fails at particular time when you were actually pushing data into the third-party system. So you can use this timer to retry the same logic multiple times, right? Or you can put a wait timer to wait for certain time and then kick that workflow out. So there's a workflow engine that will keep watching the timers that you set and act accordingly whenever the timer has reached the threshold it was supposed to reach. Now, in this example, we are going to put this workflow activity group approval, and let's name it something. Let's name it get manager approval, special manager approval. When to run is when cost is greater than $500, and the group that you want to associate to it is choose the group. Let's say analyst will approve the request, so you are going to put the analyst group there. For this example, we are not going to use any schedule or conditional approval options here, so I'm just going to set that. But before that, one condition for approval I'm going to set is wait for an approval from each group, meaning if you get one approval from the group, you consider it as approved, or you want everybody from the group to approve it, right? An approval from anyone in all groups, the first response from each group. So the first response from any group. So if somebody approves it from any group, so we only have one group, right? So I'll wait for an approval from each group, right? And when anyone rejects it, it will be rejected request. So I'm going to submit this. So this is a simple approval condition that I'm using it here. Now you have to join the workflows here. So let's say that your request for approval is approved. Then what do? You do, let's say you create a task or something. So if it is approved, you will create a task entry and you will mark it as, let's say, priority high or critical, and you will choose the fulfillment group, the group who is supposed to fulfill that request. Let's say you are to use maybe capacity management. So when that request is approved, you are going to take this request to create a task, and the task will be created for the capacity management group. And from the capacity management group, you are going to assign this to a particular person. Let's say I'm going to assign this to Rahul. And short description is something like this. I don't want to put any script as of now. Don't want to put a schedule. No duration. I just want to submit it. Now this task will be created when the request is approved. So I have to join the approved state of the approval to the create task. And let's say on rejection it shoots an email. So I'll go ahead and create a notification. And let's say I want to send an email to this person that this has been rejected, right? And to groups as well. Let's say I want to inform all analysts that this has been rejected. Subject is you can put as
What does notification? It's email or how
email.
the notification goes?
Email. Where is that? So you can get the dynamic fields from this, and equipment name. What is the field name? Type. Okay. So no, not task type, just type. So I just kept this type. So you may write equipment something like this. Type is this. Some information. Do we have a user information here? Something like this. A sample email, and then you submit it. Now you will associate rejection to the notification.
Rahul, you use the dollar type. So what is that? Dollar is a way of,
If you remember, we talked about it in
yeah.
email notifications. The dollar type
Mm.
is the field coming from the table itself. So dynamically, if you want to get the field value, you use the dollar type. You do not have to
Okay.
remember that. You just select the fields from the right side where you have all the fields listed out from the tables. You expand this and select the column that you want to. For example, if I want to see the actual end date, I'll hit on this. It will bring actual end and the work end date. Right. Likewise, if I want to send something else, assign to business service, anything, whichever is available there on the screen description. So it comes automatically. You do not have to remember anything related to this. Marketing event. Save it. So that becomes your part of the email. Now let's say you also want to put a notification after this procurement is done. So let's say the task has been fulfilled and now you want to send an email. So you will put some email like procurement completed, and again you want to put your user's email ID to whom you want to send the email upon its completion. Groups, any group. So vaguely I am putting analyst group here. Equipment request. Some email, you can put dynamic values as well. I'm just putting the sample text here. And then I am going to always link this to notification. And finally, I'm going to end this step. And also after notifying, I'm just going to put this to end. Right? So this is a simple workflow that I created. You begin, you seek approval. If it is approved, you create a task. If the task is completed, you send a notification about completion and the workflow. If it is rejected, you send a equipment request rejection email, and that's it. Now your workflow is completed. Let's see if you have done everything right. So you'll open this contextual menu here and click on validate workflow. It will show you the level of messages. The validation check it does, it says I only have info messages here, so it looks like the workflow is set up correctly. Now I have to publish this before I can use it actually. I just published my equipment request workflow. Now this comes in force, this becomes active. Now if I go to the marketing, one more thing, when it goes to approval, hang on, one more thing, I have to check out. So if I have to edit this workflow, I have to check this out. So I'm checking this out, now I can edit this. I'm opening this activity now. So when it goes to approval, what I want to do is, I want to make current dot approval equals requested. So hopefully the field name is approval.
Sorry, what you did? I don't understand.
So as of now, when we have created requests into the equipment request table, the approval state is not yet requested, right? But when you, but now on, when you create this request, right? So what you are doing is you are setting the stage as current.approval as requested. So let's do this. Hang on. I'm going to put a run script here. And I'm going to make it as equipment requested, and I'm putting this here. And I'll put this step, this activity, just after the equipment is requested. So I'll slightly change it. I'm going to do this. Bring the run script here. So whenever we begin, we'll actually change the equipment state to equipment requested, and then I'll link it to the approval. Let me decorate it slightly. So you may now understand what I'm doing. So when we begin, we set the requested state as requested. If you do not do this, so even if we create this equipment request record here, the approval stage will still be not yet requested. For example, if I create a new request here, test, let's put the value as 300 so we do not kick the workflow, and save these details, save the marketing event information. And if I submit this, right, when I open this form, the approval state is not yet requested. When I submit this, the test record gets created, but the approval state is not yet requested. But then I requested it, right? So I want to change this approval state to requested instead of just not yet requested. For that, I introduce this step, a run script here, which will do current.approval equals requested, and requested is one of the values into this approval field that we have here. Not yet requested, requested, approval, rejected, right? So that's what I'm doing, and hopefully this is the correct value for not yet requested. So I'll see quickly. I'll do configure choices and see requested. So probably I'll put this as requested. I don't know, it should be, hang on. Configure dictionary. Come on. Requested is all in small. So I'll have to copy paste it here, all in small, and I'm saving it. And here, before creating this procurement task, let's do this. I'm going to put one more run script. And I'm going to do request approved. Something like this.
So you are updating the
States,
record
the
basically.
approvals, yeah.
Okay.
Now I'll take this
So
here.
that run script considered as a database action, right?
Yes.
It could be a database action. Okay.
So let's run a script here. Come on. Sometimes it becomes clumsy. Get approval. Link it to this. Right. Let's publish this. This is published now. Go to equipment request table now. Create a request. Test type. Let's put $600. I'm going to submit it. Now if you see, test type record was created, but the approval was set to requested. Okay. So this was done by the workflow. Now, if I go to my approvals, I think I was part of the analyst group who is supposed to approve this. Analyst group. So I am not part of the analyst group because I don't see this approval here. So let me go to group.
You can reassign that approval to yourself.
Where? You can
No, I mean
you can
yeah,
reassign.
you can yeah, can you reassign that approval to yourself?
You
Let's say
can
you are approved for.
you have to do that into the workflow. The group you identify there, you will have to change the workflow to add the group there.
So, for example, like you have a couple of approvals are pending, okay, and then you are on vacation. So if I wanted to approve on behalf of you, so I cannot manually assign all your approval to myself, and I can approve those or reject those requests.
See, you should not do that if you are not a delegate of me. That is a rule violation that you'll be doing, right? Analyst group members, group analyst.
No, I mean it's like if somebody is saying your like top boss is saying, just assign to me that my subordinate is not there, so I can approve on behalf of him. He's requesting manually, so you can see how many requests sent to that person, and then you can
See,
reassign
in
to.
this requirement, it doesn't fit because we
Okay,
identified approvers as the group of analysts, right? If you are not in the group of analysts, you cannot approve it. Simple, right? So
uh,
if you are
no,
not,
not for this not
mm,
for this requirement. I'm saying like we do does ServiceNow has any screen where you can see what are how many approvals are pending for you, and then how many you approved it, kind of that kind of a report where, and then is there any kind of a screen is there or not? That's what I'm asking. Yes.
approval related request will go into uh, my approvals into my self-service. So here you can see all the requests that are pending your approval. I'll have to erase that. Here you will get your listings done. So it shows that as a system administrator, I need to approve this request. Is this what you're looking for? I have logged in as a system administrator. I can go to self-service and my
Right.
approvals, and I can see what all requests are there pending my approval. Right?
Correct. So, yeah, I mean, this is like your approval, right? Now,
Yeah.
let's say I'm a system administrator, and I wanted to reassign that
As a
particular
system
task of
administrator, you can go ahead and approve that. Yes, you can do that.
not no no not approve. Let's say I wanted to reassign that approval task to
Mm.
Kumaran. Can I do that?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Mm.
Unless, if we are talking in the context of workflow, unless you change the workflow approvers, you cannot approve that,
Okay.
right? See, because you, on one hand, what you decided is to put a approval group, right? So
Hmm.
you are setting up a rule that only analyst can approve this request. Now,
Right.
from the back end, you are doing some illegal activity and saying that, okay, let's change this. Even if the required approvers is the group of analysts, I want somebody else who is in the capacity management to approve it. So you are basically, you know, changing the rules of the game without changing the workflow. Right? So
Yeah, I mean,
that's an illegal activity.
mm, not really. I mean, because I'll tell you the real case. I'm telling you the real case scenario. What is happening currently is, in the product I'm working right now. Okay, most of the people either they ask to set up themselves as a delegate because somebody his buddy is like going on vacation, or let's say some requests are pending with some person, and they wanted to reassign that. They will say, okay, I am out of office currently, and can you reassign this request to this person so that he can approve on my behalf. That's the email I got. Okay, so now we have a screen over there where we just put his name or his email address, some identification parameter, and we'll see, okay, how many requests he has right now
So you will have
approval
to design
pending.
your workflow according to that. What I'm saying is, in this use case that we are taking right now, we do not leave any scope for doing that. In this use
Okay.
case, we did not leave that scope for
Mm.
doing that.
So
If
you
you
are you are
if you
saying okay.
if you
I
have to,
understand. I mean,
yeah,
okay. You are saying okay. So you are saying we have to develop that up workflow. So there is no such provision or kind of a screen given by ServiceNow where we can do that. You know,
yes, as far as I
like
know,
in
I do not see that happening here.
okay inbuilt there is no inbuilt functionality. Okay, that's what I wanted to understand.
You can design your application where you put your first level approvals, second level approvals, right? And
Mhm.
here you are not dealing with individual approval user, you are dealing with approval group. So even if somebody
Mhm.
is off the grid, is on vacation, he might use, somebody else from the group can go ahead and approve it. But to your point, you can put a screen. You can create a screen where you'd identify the second level approval if somebody is not available. By default, I don't see there is any option available which can assign on behalf of you by violating the group requirements that you have placed into the workflow. Okay, so I came to this my approvals. I have this task 21683 for my approval, which is in requested state. I can go ahead and reject it, for example, let's say. And I'm going to reject it by putting a rejection comment.
Can you talking actually I can't able to hear your voice. Hello?
Same here.
No.
I can't. If he is
Oh,
talking,
sorry. Oh,
we are not
sorry.
able to hear.
Oh, sorry. It was on mute. I
Let me
mistakenly pressed
check.
it. All right. So I don't know. What point you actually stopped listening? So what I
Um,
No, sir.
where you say you go to the email box and you are looking for the email.
Okay. So I go into the logs and I see that emails were sent out. So these are the emails sent out. An email was sent out to me as well as all the people who were into the analyst group, because that's how I use the yeah, no, not this run script. I use this notification template here. So I created this notification on rejection of the request, and I sent email to myself and to all analysts. So if I go into the email log, I can see that email has been sent out to all those users, all the analysts. Yeah.
Rahul, can we see the actual executed workflow?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I just wanted to show you the simple workflow today. If you want to see
Okay.
so you will have to explore this.
Uh,
Come on, man. So you have to go into the workflow context, open the record, Then you can see the workflow. Show workflow you do, and you will see the steps that it has executed. It has gone through this, through this. This is probably a different record. It is waiting at this step right now. If you want to look at the exact record that we just did, you will have to search through it. This is active context. So if I go into all context, some equipment, this is finished. So if I open this up, go to show workflow, it will show me the path that it traversed to complete the workflow. So you requested the workflow, it went to run script, set the requested approval value to requested, then it went to manager approval, somebody rejected it, it went to request rejected state, sent the approval value to rejected, then it went to send notification, sent out notification, and then it ended. So this is how it executed, and to each step you can see the started time and end type and execution order. It changes accordingly. The path that it traverses, it changes accordingly.
Okay. Tomorrow, you know what? I will show you the workflow and the type of request I'm working. So why I'm asking those questions is, you know, I have that mindset. Okay, means or not exactly mindset, but yes, the way I'm working on that one. So
Send me the use case,
I'm
please.
looking.
If you want me to create something for you, send me that use case.
No, I will show you I will show you the actual use case, actual execution of the
Okay.
workflow and the product and the request, how I submit and how it works. Okay. I
Okay.
will show you today. In next 10 minutes, and then I will try to basically I wanted to try to simulate exactly same type of thing in the service now.
Okay. We will not do it right now. We are running out of time,
No,
Anand. So
no,
we'll
no.
do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow. I'm
Okay.
saying.